Hey, what's up? I'm Joel Madden, and this is Artist Friendly. On this episode, I'm talking to 3 times best-selling author and founder of the platform Mindvalley, Vishen Lakhiani. Let's go.
That's my kind. I don't want no bad times. I don't want to have bad.
I was thinking about it. I was like, what am I going to talk to Vishen about? So for anybody listening, and I've already explained to you are on the intro to the podcast, anybody listening, Vishen started a platform because that's something people can understand for personal growth.
Yeah.
And I think it's like a discovery of self.
Yeah. It's the idea that one of the reasons we're here on Earth is to become the best human beings we can be.
I agree with
right? Like, it's not about going to the gym. Life is a gym.
Yeah.
And it's not just about improving your health. It's not just about mental health. It's about all of these unique abilities that God has given us that we can experiment with. Intuition, creativity, meta learning, ability to connect deeply with people, to conscious parenting. There's this great mass of learnings that can make us become better humans, but schools don't cover it.
Right.
And so this platform is designed to simply get these ideas out to people.
Yeah. It's exactly how I look at the world.
Yeah.
This is exactly how I see life. I find myself in this body, in this lifetime, doing music. And if you judge someone at the first glance of how they look or what you may know a little bit of them, you miss the point.
Right.
And the opportunity of like what could happen if you go into a conversation or a meeting or an experience with zero judgment.
Yeah.
I do what I do, but I never look at what I do as the only thing I do. I'm always on this curious like journey to figure out like, what do I do? Who am I?
Yeah.
And what's possible?
You know, and this idea that you just said of no judgment, that really hit me. So can I talk about something?
Yeah, I love it.
So, you know, we just finished the election.
Yeah.
Last week, we found out that President Trump is going to be the next president. I was just speaking at an event this past weekend. This event, I was speaking, the other speakers were Jordan Peterson, were Tucker Carlson, and Robert F. Kennedy. Right? Now, I live in Europe. I don't live in the US, but I love watching late night television. I watch The Daily Show. I watch Stephen Colbert. And I didn't like those 3 guys because from what I was getting off the news, all 3 of these men were jerks.
Yeah, your perception
They
of
were constantly being mocked.
Yeah.
So I tried to go in with no judgment and just listen to them, hear their ideas, and they were so unlike anything the media made them out to be.
Yeah, usually the case.
Yeah. Not a hint of racism. Nice. They have different viewpoints, but they were definitely not bad people.
Yeah.
And that really stunned me. Like, I realized how important it is to sit with everyone with a fresh slate.
Yeah.
Right? And how in our world today, so much, I think there's this aspect of the human mind where we like gossip. And that's how the media gets us hooked in this bullshit drama. But the bad part is we start judging each other and we come up with these crazy stories about the other side. I think it's so important right now for Americans to just have an open mind towards the other side, whether it's conservative or progressive.
Yeah, I agree. I actually feel like every time I meet someone, I have a clean slate.
Yeah.
And that's a great way of putting it, a clean slate. Like if we all just had a clean slate,
Right.
what would the experience be of every room, especially in entertainment? Because we all get jaded. And I think we get so used to meeting people and we write people off. But the point of this show is a little bit of that approach to, I don't have any judgment on anyone. They can tell me their political beliefs. They could tell me their religion. They could tell me their habits.
Right.
Maybe they're like
a free-flowing conversation.
And when you have no judgment, and then I'll go even further. Not that I've ever talked about this, but I have this word that I always say in the back of my mind when I go in, because music is very much like food. You could say like, I don't like that kind of food. You might be wrong. You might actually have a dish you like. Music is the same way because I don't listen to this or that. And then you get past that and you go, the person making it has to be special, especially if they've connected with all these people.
Right.
It's not just the song. It's something in the music. It's the energy like we talked about. But I have this word I always say in the back of my mind. It's unconditional positive regard for every person that I meet. And then I started doing this show, and it's a feeling that I have when I sit with anyone. Unconditional positive regard. And then if you carry that out into the world outside of just sitting down and doing this show, you can actually start to have that
exactly
for everyone you meet.
Right. You know, there's this aspect in Buddhism.
Yeah.
It's compassion practice. And in my meditation practice, the sixth phase, which is the title of my book, I believe we should start meditation with a compassion practice. And you just made me see that is similar to what you're saying. You see everyone in high regard, and you do it by imagining the love you have for, say, your daughter or your dog or your spouse, feeling that in your heart, but then expanding that for greater and greater and greater levels of humanity, starting with the people in the room with you, like this incredible crew recording the podcast, to the people in the city of LA, people in California, people in the United States, regardless of political beliefs, and then the entire world. And when you do that enough, what happens is that you develop this unconditional positive regard for everyone. You start seeing the world as a friendlier place. There's this unique quirk in our brains, and it's called fundamental attribution error.
Yeah.
And what it means is that, let's say you're driving and someone cuts you off, right? In your mind, you will label them a jerk. You would think, my God, what an a-hole.
Right.
But if you do the same thing, you will justify it. Oh my God, my kid was late for school. I'm sorry, I didn't see that guy. So when you or someone you love does it, it is the situation. But when someone else does it, it's a character flaw. And we're constantly doing this. People we don't know, we judge their mistakes as character flaws. Don't trust them. People we know, oh, it's just a situation. I think this kept us alive when we were more tribal species and you didn't know the character of the person in the other tribe. I mean, maybe he was going to kill you for the fruit that you had, right? You got to be judgy. But right now, that's still in our brains. And this fundamental attribution error makes us behave like assholes.
Yeah.
So what you said is so relevant. The compassion practice is so relevant because it tones that down and makes you see everyone as a really beautiful human being, which I think we all are.
Yeah, the base you're working from is they are a good person.
Yes.
And that's kind of where I come from.
Right.
Not always. I think that, like you said, if you say back when we were tribal, or you could say back when you were young and you were in the streets,
right,
you had to think of a different set of rules,
right,
because there were outcomes that were real.
Yeah.
But those are no longer outcomes that are possible. In fact, I always do this exercise where I think about how many decisions am I away from my highest level of success or happiness or whatever you want to call it, health or whatever the version of best is. And you can actually walk through those and go, I'm 5 decisions away.
Right.
I'm 10 decisions away. You know, it's fun actually to think that way. And I always encourage people to go, artists, especially when they're in these pivotal moments where I'm like, well, you're not that many decisions away from your ultimate highest success. And how many decisions are you away from your worst self?
Yeah.
And you can get to a place where you're a bunch of decisions away from your worst self. You can make enough decisions to get so much distance from that place that you'd have to make a bunch of bad choices to get to the worst.
Yeah.
Aside
and you spiral downwards, right? When it gets bad, it fucks with your head. Sorry, can I say that in the...
Yeah.
I mean, and it gets worse and worse and worse. Bad decisions whack your brain and you end up making more bad decisions. It's a negative spiral that goes downwards.
Yeah, good begets good, bad begets bad.
Exactly.
And then what most people I find, because I like to watch, with, again, no judgment, more of an understanding of like, it's probably something like I believe in them. And they pinball around. So they'll make good decisions. They'll get a little momentum. They'll blow it up. They'll get in their own way. And they make a bunch of bad decisions and they kind of go back and forth. And they stay in this middle place where it's good sometimes, it's bad sometimes. Some people, I'm sure you know plenty of people that are highly successful, highly functional, highly, developed, that have learned how to create all good patterns, make all good decisions, and are operating on the most optimal, highest level of themselves. And even those people probably have areas of their life that could improve, because I think we all do. But I do think there's a version of your life where you get the major categories like firing. The
Yeah.
major categories for me are like health and fitness, relationships, personal relationships, love life, obviously, family, and friendships, and then a work life that you love, and then the transcendent part of life, which is your spirituality, you know, the higher purpose of why do anything. So I think those are for me anyways, when I organize in my brain, I always think of, am I hitting that? Am I hitting that? Am I hitting that? Am I hitting that?
Yeah.
And I find when I'm doing one really well, one of them might be suffering, and I'm trying to find the balance of doing them all really well.
I think that's a very important idea there. We got to look at life holistically, right?
Yeah.
So many people, they will crush it in one area, like finance.
Right.
But then because of their chase for money, another part of their life, maybe it's their family, maybe it's their love life, maybe it's their health, goes crazy. There are 6, which I think are really important. The 6 F's. Family, friends. Friends are really interesting. We forget to prioritize friendships, but friends are so important to us. I'm a man who went through a divorce, right? And for a while, I almost felt that the family was not there anymore. And I'm still in great terms with my ex-wife. I'm in great terms with my kids. But what I really learned post-divorce is the importance of friendship. So it can get lonely. And so really, really nurturing friendship. So you have family, friends, then there's faith. And faith could be whatever you believe in. It doesn't have to be God if you're an atheist. It's your belief in the country, your belief in Jesus, whatever. Faith. Freedom. Can you live life based on your own terms? That's a luxury for many people. Freedom. To live life based on your own terms. To have the freedom to go on a road trip when you need to, you know? To wake up and decide you don't have to hustle and go through commute to get to the office, but you have that space. Freedom. And then there's finances, which is money, obviously. And then fitness. And fitness is basically the body.
Yeah.
I think if you start setting goals in these 6 areas, your life is going to be pretty much okay.
Yeah.
You got to start thinking of it holistically. You can't even leave out one area. You leave out faith. What are you going to do in those moments when life is just shitty? Like, what do you have backing you up? And so I think being able to look at life holistically is a really important skill we all need to learn. Schools, by the way, they only teach you one. Finance. They teach you how to get a job. And even then, they teach you a really crappy, obsolete, stupid way to make money.
Yeah. It's old.
Yeah.
It's out of date.
Yeah.
So I was inclined to talk to you about this stuff. You know, immediately you sit down and I start talking to you about my philosophical kind of approach to things.
Yeah, we're kind of having a free-flowing conversation. I like that.
Yeah. But the person that you are,
Yeah.
right? Because there's this, there's the energy of us, there's the spirit of us,
Right.
and then there's the us, the person.
Right.
How do you go between, say, something like a divorce, right? Where you're going through so much pain.
Right.
You're not going in trying to fail together. And I don't look at divorce as a failure. I think that when you succeed in divorce, it can go really well for both people because you grew out of this to even better, greater heights, which most people are so afraid of to say the word and to talk about it. But I've had a few friends that have gone through divorces, and I've seen a few do really well, and it was painful.
Right.
But they've worked together as a team to make it the best possible case as they could. And then I've seen it the other way, where it's a very painful.
Where it's completely painful.
And I think about the person, right? Your work is helping people get it right.
Right.
And so you're a guy who has answers. People are coming to you and they're going, hey, what should I do about this? Or, you know, people come and they want information from you so they can grow. So a profound thing to do for a living and for your life's work. But then the real person, when you're going through such a hard thing like a divorce, has to go home and deal with the reality of life where these things we have to work through. Who are you in both of those moments?
Yeah, you know, it's crazy. You got me thinking about divorce. It's really, really, really interesting. I remember when I got divorced and we announced it on Instagram.
Okay.
With my ex-wife. We put up a picture of the two of us and our 2 kids, and we mentioned that this is happening. People didn't come out in support.
Okay.
Some people said, hey, you know, I'm here if you... Everyone firstly saw it as a sad thing. And then I started getting slammed, primarily slammed from people of my ethnicity, Indian.
Okay.
Because in Indian culture, divorce is seen as the ultimate failure.
Okay.
There is no greater failure than divorce in Indian culture. Only 3% of Indians get divorced.
Wow.
At the same time, there were Indian women writing to me saying, hey, I'm so glad you shared this divorce message, because I was thinking about divorcing my husband because he's beating me, but I can't because I'd be seen as a failure.
Right.
Imagine how crazy that is, right?